Chromosome 7 is also the site of an unusual genetic disease called Williams syndrome. Its most striking effects are on the brain, but surprisingly, they are both positive and negative. AJ is an 11-year-old boy with Williams syndrome who lives in a suburb of San Diego.
Tonight, I'd like to introduce the Arciniega Band. AJ Arciniega on the drums.
Like most Williams syndrome kids, he is a very sociable and fun-loving boy. Also typical is his love and talent for music. But AJ also has some less obvious traits.
He fell to the ground.
For example, he has excellent verbal skills and is a gifted storyteller.
Look, it's a miracle.
But he cannot read. He is making this story up based on the pictures in this book.
And that was the end of the story.
The end.
In this test, AJ is shown a simple arrangement of building blocks and asked to reproduce it.
Yeah.
Ready?
An easy task for others is a monumental challenge for Williams syndrome kids.
How do you do it again? Like this?
See this lady up here? Now.
But he shines at this test, in which he must point out a particular face within a group of very similar faces. This helps explain why Williams syndrome kids seem to have an inborn talent for making friends.
This really is a very characteristic pattern of people with Williams syndrome in response to something that we know they love very much, which is looking at other people's faces.
She's always saying that.
Williams syndrome is caused not by an abnormal gene, but by a missing chunk of DNA in one of our 2 copies of chromosome 7.
We know now that Williams syndrome arises due to the deletion of a long stretch of DNA, about 1.5 million nucleotides long, which encompasses about 23 genes.
This area is flanked by the same kind of very large DNA repeats that Steve Scherer and his colleagues discovered after the entire genome was revealed.
There are long stretches of DNA, 400,000 nucleotides in length, present in 2 copies on each side of the region.
He also discovered that in about 5% of all people, on one chromosome 7, this region is flipped around. Then came another discovery.
When we looked at the parents of children who had Williams syndrome, in fact, that percentage was much, much higher. It's something on the order of 35 or 40%.
So when a parent carries this flipped around chunk of DNA, there is a good chance that it will be missing altogether in their child. The cause seems to lie within the newly discovered DNA repeats that surround it. So success in unraveling this genetic disease would not have been possible before the Book of Life was fully available for scientists to read.
There's a manuscript inside us all. It comes all pre-installed.
It's the Book of Life.
It's a wondrous tome, a genetic poem. It's the story of all 46 chromosomes, the human genome.
It's the Book of Life.
It's your pedigree and your new ID, but it only has 4 letters, A, T, C, and G. The human genome.
It's the Book of Life.
Our project is to read that book, which looks like so much gobbledygook. We're drawing up genetic maps and filling in the missing gaps. We're creeping up on the day. We'll sequence all that DNA. 3 billion base pairs on display. A scientific expose. We'll learn whatever hides inside those endless rows of nucleotides.
Unless we go cross-eyed.
Will you get tooth decay or have to wear a toupee? There's no end to all the secrets that your book may betray. The human genome.
It's the Book of Life.
Yeah, but we will also find within that master design a medical bonanza that will boggle the mind. Disease-relieving benefits for all humankind. It's a gold mine and a landmine. It's all intertwined.
The Book of Life.
Object of this project is to dissect respect the book of life.
I think you can argue that sequencing the human genome is the most significant scientific undertaking that humankind has ever mounted. And in that regard, this is historic beyond the narrow field of genetics. It's historic for humankind. We are reading our own instruction book, something we shall only do once.
And it's our gift to future generations. I mean, the human genome sequence will be, allow for the odd mutation, will be as relevant a million years in the future as it is right now.